morning. The most news in the morning, period. Weekdays 6 Eastern.
High rate of obesity in this country plays a big role in the rising cost of health care. But now there's startling new information about race and weight. One ethnic group has by far the most alarming obesity numbers. We're paging Dr. Gupta to find out who and why. So who and why?
Well, it's African Americans, and it's staggeringly higher than whites and Hispanics. And what's interesting, Carol, when I first started working at this network, we talked about the rates of people being overweight all the time. And now we talk about obesity almost in the way that we used to talk about overweight. It's gotten that much worse over the past several years, for sure. But there are some concerning numbers specifically about African Americans and the rates of obesity. What they really try to do is break down obesity rates by race and also by state. And you can take a look at the numbers there. I mean, it's pretty staggering. 36% of blacks, more than 1 in 3, are obese.
Wow.
29% of Hispanics, 24% of whites, 40% of black women overall, Carol, as well. This is what has gained a lot of attention when we talk about health care as well, because obesity is related to just about every chronic disease you can imagine. Heart disease, stroke, many types of cancers as well. Uniformly across the country, the rates have been going up, but there are a couple of areas that are particularly hard hit. The South and the Midwest, you can take a look at the numbers overall. Certain states, more so Mississippi, Alabama, Maine, Ohio, and Oregon, 40% or more of the people there in those states are obese. And again, with it, more diabetes cases, more heart disease cases. This is part of the problem with fixing healthcare, is that you have so many preventable diseases occurring that you have to target those when you're trying to lower costs.
Well, let's talk about 40% of African American women being obese. I mean, is it a cultural issue? Because African American women are more accepting of their body types.
That's right.
They're not as overly concerned perhaps as other cultural groups.
That's a very good point. It was interesting as we did some interviews on this yesterday. That was something that emerged a few times, which surprised me a little bit about how we sort of view body type as a whole, and whether or not the sort of way that we measure obesity is even accurate. We use body mass index, and a lot of people take issue with that. But there are other things as well. There are socioeconomic concerns, access overall to simply good foods. I did this documentary called Killer Diet last year, where we looked at this thing called urban gardens. How easy is it to get good foods in certain urban centers? Here's what Donna Redmond told me. Green leafy vegetables.
Absolutely.
Something that's hard to get around here otherwise.
You will not be able to find this around here.
You would go to stores in that particular area, and all you'd find is beef jerky, Twinkies, soda pop, no vegetables or otherwise good food.
Greens are a big part of the Southern diet, but fried foods are also a big part of it, too.
That's right. And just simply, she'd have to get on 2 trains and a bus ride to simply go buy vegetables and fruit. And, it's hard to have a healthy diet that way.
That's crazy.
Yeah. You have these urban deserts.
I know. I wish there was one great answer out there to solve these problems, but there's not.
I'm always amazed at how much more expensive it is to buy an apple, for example, than a heavily processed piece of food. I mean, something that's been through chemical factories and everything else is often cheaper. We need to change that around a bit as well.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots to do.
Yeah. Sanjay, thanks.